Okay, find me online. So roll call.
Peter, your mic.
Sorry. We're used to not using our mics because we're non-functional for the last 2 months. So roll call to speed things up. Everybody's here, so I'll call the meeting to order. And I have a huge introduction to read, which I've said different times. If there's no public, I don't have to read it. I have never had that privilege. So the purpose of this meeting is to hear an application for minor variance expansion of legal non-conforming MD 2025-01 Solvay Carpenter. The committee is charged with making a decision on each application on the agenda. The decision will be based on both oral, written input received and understandings gained. The key factors on which decisions are based include: is the application generally in keeping with the intent of the compliance with section 8.3.3.1 of the township's official plan? Is the application generally in keeping with the intent of the township's zoning bylaw? Is the application desirable for the appropriate development or use of the site? Is the application minor in nature and scope? Does the application cause any adverse effects on adjoining properties or the natural environment? Can the development be supported within the limits of the subject property, including servicing and parking? The planning consultant will provide a brief overview of the details of the file. The applicant will be given an opportunity to explain the need for the variance. Then any person or public body who wishes to speak to the application. If the applicant or the public agency does not make oral or written submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Township of Latin Commons before the decision is passed, the agent or public body may not be added to a hearing of an appeal before the local planning appeal tribunal, LPAT, unless in the opinion of the tribunal there is reasonable grounds to do so. There is no right for members of the public to appeal the decision. If you wish to be notified of the decision of the Committee of Adjustment in respect to any of the below listed applications, you must submit a written request to the Secretary Treasurer of the Committee of Adjustments, or you must sign the attendance list provided at today's meeting. This will also entitle you to a possible appeal. Even if you are the successful party, you should request a copy of the decision, since the Committee of Adjustment decision may be appealed to the LPAT by the applicant or commenting agencies. And we move on with the agenda. Suggest the motion of the agenda be adopted as presented. Moved by Jeannie, seconded by Marina. All in favor? It's carried. Approval of the minutes of the Committee of Adjustment meeting March 12th, that long ago, 2024, be approved as circulated. Moved by Marina, seconded by Ron. All in favor? It's carried. And the application, Forbes.
Thank you very much, Reeve and Council. It's a pleasure to be before you this evening as the Committee of Adjustment. The application, as the Reeve indicated, is for an expansion of a legal non-conforming structure. The property is located along Porcupine Way Road. It's occupied by an existing cottage, and this is a common type of application that we're receiving today, where the old cottage has maybe seen its life, and there's a need for a new structure on the property, and typically they're somewhat larger than the original cottage that Grandpa may have built back in the 60s. In this case, the application site plan, I think, that's been submitted by the property owners provides a very clear picture for council. It shows the existing footprint of the cabin and an L-shaped enlargement footprint that you can see does not get closer to the water, has a modest lateral expansion, and most of the new structure is going to be either at the existing water setback or behind it. The township's official plan that was updated a couple of years ago has very detailed policies that give direction to property owners and how to approach this type of redevelopment of our sensitive waterfront properties. It's critical that the development does not get closer to the waterfront, And one of the things that we look for is improvements. Is there a net environmental gain that's achieved through the redevelopment of the property? And in this case, I want to highlight for council the location of the new septic system that would be constructed that's located well outside of the 30-meter setback at the very rear of the property next to Porcupine Way. The official plan policies acknowledge that new septic systems outside of the 30-meter setback are in there by themselves a significant net improvement to the function of the property as it relates to the water and the natural environment. Given the nature of this, I think that that's all that I wish to highlight for council at this point in time. My report goes in detail in terms of compliance with the official plan, and I've made notes to that extent in the report. But the main points are that it's not encroaching closer to the waterfront, and there is a new septic system that's outside of the 30-meter setback. And I think that those are compelling reasons to support the application. My report is in favor of the application. And there's minor conditions that I've identified that the development's consistent with the site plan submitted and the new septic system. Chair, that's my report. I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Does council have any questions of Forbes? Seeing none, does the applicant wish to add to the report?
I'm the applicant of this variance. The only thing I want to say is like we've been going up there since, well, my wife's grandfather built it in 1969. And as Forbes mentioned, it's seen better days, so it's time to just upgrade everything. And we want to make it like a year-round cottage, potentially a house in the future when we retire, to somewhere to come. We love coming up here. We love the area. And that's about it. Thank you.
Welcome to the Lanark Highlands, permanently. Anybody else want to speak to it? Sure, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Heather Combaluzier. My husband and I live on either side. Well, we live on one side, on the left side of the property in mention, and we also own the property on the other side, and we're very in favor of Jeff and Sheila's going ahead with this, and hope that you are too, because as we have seen on the lake, a lot of the older properties don't have proper septic and so on, and that was the thing that sold me, was that they were getting septic done, and not that they had a bathroom in their old one, but anyway, you know, it's just a nice thing to have, that we're looking after our environment that way, and that's, just wanted to say that we're full of support, and we live on both sides. We have both sides. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And I assume that's everybody. So we'll move on with, this has oral and written submission, so anybody can do that with the signature. So decision of committee, suggests the motion of the Township of Lanark Highlands Committee of Adjustments approve an expansion of an existing legal non-conforming dwelling and conversion to a permitted use of land described as 461 Porcupine Way, Part Lot 15, Concession 7, former Township of Dahoozie, subject to the following conditions: that the approval of the replacement of the legal non-conforming structure be based on MV application, site plan submitted and attached to the decision, that the use of the subject property be for residential purposes and supported by an approved septic system, that the applicant acquires all required building permits from the township. Mover and seconder, Jeannie and Ron. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? It's carried. An adjournment. Marina and Bill. All in favor? We're done. Thank you.
Okay, we are about to begin the Committee of the Whole meeting. Want to welcome everybody. I think your interest is probably in the next meeting of council and the in-camera item. So I don't have anything of substance to offer you at this point, but welcome, and we appreciate your presence. The roll call, we're all still here, so we'll note that. Call to order. Disclosure of pecuniary interest, again. For this meeting, not seeing any, I have a suggested motion that the agenda be adopted as presented. Moved by Jeannie, seconded by Marina. All in favor? And that's carried. I have a suggested motion that the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes of October 28th, 2025 be approved as circulated. Moved by Marina, seconded by the Reeve. All in favor? And that's carried. So we have a presentation from our auditor, Katie Mahone, who's joining us by Zoom tonight.
Good evening, everybody. I'll do just a quick sound check to make sure everyone can hear me.
Sounds good.
Perfect, thank you. And I appreciate you accommodating me and testing out some new technology to see if everything works. And I think so far, so good. But if at any point the audio cuts out or the visual, I believe it's being shared up on the screen, please let me know, and we can always make sure to go back so that we don't skip anything unnecessarily. The one comment I might just make briefly before we do hop into it is I can only see a very select few people in my screen right now. So if there are any questions as we go along, if someone could just flag me down and make sure that we are able to address any questions as they come up, or certainly we'll have some time left at the end of the presentation as well. So with those few items out of the way, I think technology is on our side, so let's hop to it. So as mentioned, thank you for having me here today to present the audit findings for the fiscal 2024 audit. My name is Katie Mahon. I am an audit partner out of our KPMG Kingston location and have been working on the township's audit for this will be our 4th year now under KPMG. I'm very excited to announce, since this is the 2024 audit, this means that after the presentation today, assuming the financial statements are approved, we will be fully caught up all fiscal years and ready to end the 2025 fiscal year in a month or so and be right on track as we would expect to be. So it did take us a few years to get up to date and on track, but very happy to be here. And I think you'll see as we go through the presentation, a clean audit opinion and a clean audit report, and certainly setting ourselves up for success rolling into the 2025 fiscal year. So if we want to flip open to the next page, it is our audit highlights page, which is our executive summary. One more page down. We will go through each of these items in more detail. So I think we can flip right on to page number 5, which is overall status of the audit. So at the time we had sent this report around, I believe it was sent at the end of October 31st. We were still waiting on one last audit documentation piece, which was the response from the township's legal firm. Happy to say, though, we received that back 2 weeks ago. So we received that back the 2nd week of November. Everything was received as expected. No adjustments were required. So we're able to take that off the outstanding list, which means all we have left to do is have our discussion here today, answer any questions that the committee and council may have, and then following the approval of the statements, we'll get our signed representation letters back from management and be in a position to finalize and wrap up the fiscal 2024 year. The next page number 6 here, speaks to updates to our audit plan. So the last few years, coming out of the COVID years, have been a little bit heavy in terms of mandatory accounting standards that were required to be adopted into the financial statements. So fiscal 2023 was really the big year. That was the year we brought in asset retirement obligations. And so fiscal 2024 didn't have any one standard that had as much of a financial impact, but it did require the adoption of 3 standards. I won't go through them in detail. They're up on the screen there. One around revenue, one around P3s or public-private partnerships, and then one around purchased intangibles. The good news is that we were able to work through the adoptions. They were relatively straightforward, and neither of them, none of the 3 resulted in any significant financial impact to the statements. So as far as standards go, a pretty simplistic adoption of the standards. And then no new auditing standards that were in for 2024. So we were able to adopt these, and looking forward into 2025, happy to say that we do have a bit of a reprieve after 2 years of some pretty heavy standards to adopt. No new standards coming in for 2025. So again, setting us up for some success going into the 2025 audit. The next page, page 7, and then maybe you want to flip down as well to page 8, speaks to materiality. So materiality is an important audit concept. We do not audit to the dollar. We do look to Canadian auditing standards to provide us with guidelines on how we set materiality. You can see we've maintained materiality at that $200,000 level, same as the 2023 fiscal year. It is based on a percentage of total expenses. So those Canadian auditing standards do provide us with a percentage range, and then the benchmark being either revenues or expenses to go ahead and set that revenue base. Without expecting any significant changes in revenue or expenses, we maintained the percentage around that 2% rate of those expenses. As a reminder to the group from the 2023 presentation that I did only a few months ago, back in September, we had reduced the overall percentage of materiality as well as the performance materiality mark to a 65% to reflect some of the control deficiencies that we had noted in the previous audits. So we did, at the onset of the audit, maintain that lower performance materiality level. That's the level that we really go through when we're running our samples, and it indicates the volume and the extent of the testing that is needed from a substantive perspective. So we did maintain that reduced level, just knowing some of those deficiencies were rolling forward and were being cleaned up within the 2024 fiscal year. But we were able to complete the audit without any further significant deficiencies noted. So we were able to complete our clean audit opinion based on that reduced level. And then moving forward into fiscal 2025, we will be able to move that up to our standard 75% level, noting that all the testing we did at that reduced level, we did not uncover anything that indicated there would be any further or additional discrepancies noted. So able to complete 2024 at the lower level, and then moving forward to 2025, we'll be able to bring it back up to that set 75% level moving forward, which is a good news story and a definite testament to the work that the finance team has put in specifically over the last 12 months to get the internal control environment up to the level that we would expect. And then moving to the next slide there, slide 9, speaks to the risk assessment summary. So got a little bit ahead of myself on some of the findings there, but what this page and the next page speak to is our risk rating. So the first line there, that management override of controls with the check mark under the risk of fraud, just as a reminder to the group, and you've heard me say this before, that is a presumed fraud risk, meaning that is a required fraud risk to be built into each and every audit in Canada, required by those Canadian auditing standards to be built in at that significant rating. What we have done, though, specific to the township's audit, is we have noted an elevated risk around the tangible capital assets. Again, that was related to some of the control deficiencies that we had noted in previous audits. What you'll see on the next page is we've put in some of the takeaways from the current year audit, which is in relation to the presumed fraud risk. We completed the required testing at a very high level, had the full GL, ran it through a software program based on some high-risk criteria. It generates a sample, we vouch back, everything looked as it should. So we were able, to conclude no issues noted there. So key takeaway for the group, no findings to report. And then similarly with the capital asset testing, able to increase the substantive testing in terms of samples vouched to. And again, everything looked as it should on that front as well. So we'll be able to reduce it back down to a base rating moving forward for 2025. After that, the next 2 pages are some screenshots of the financial statements themselves. So if we look at page number 11 here, this is a screenshot of the statement of financial position. Just some really, really quick highlights without reading the screen in front of you. But cash position continues to be quite strong. Taxes receivable, that's one item that we've spoken about, I would say, in a bit more detail, specifically for the last 2 fiscal years. So starting in 22 and certainly in 2023, just around the overall percentage of the receivables over the total levy. It's a little bit higher than what we would typically like to see and what the ministry guideline would prefer to see. But I know that is something that already in 2025 has started to be addressed. So when we were doing the audit this fall, we were able to have the benefit of time to look to see, to make sure that number has been coming down in 2025 with just some increased focus on collections as well there. So a little bit higher for 2024, but again, trending in the right direction, looking forward into 2025 there. And then from a financial liabilities perspective, the biggest line item there, asset retirement obligations, the 4.6 million. Again, as a reminder, that was the new accounting standard that came in 2023. That is where the landfill closure and post-closure costs are in. So that's an estimate that is based on some projected costs and some different discount rates. So we do make sure to go through all of those costing and assumptions and make sure that they're reasonable from an audit perspective. And maybe the other item I'll note there, so the deferred revenue from the obligatory reserve funds, we did see that come down quite a bit in fiscal 2024, and that's mainly due to some contributions from developers that had been received quite a few number of years ago that was unsure what would be an eligible spend to be able to bring those funds into revenue. So that was something that there was a legal opinion and then ultimately brought to council in 2024 to approve the recognition of those funds. So we'll see that when we get to the statement of operations as well, but that's that main driver of that difference there. And then after that, we have your non-financial assets, which the biggest line item there is your capital assets. Every year, it's decreased by your amortization, offset by an increase for any additions during the year. And then we've included just a couple of the more significant additions on the right-hand side in the text box there. And then if we want to flip to page 12, it's a screenshot then of your statement of operations, so your revenue and your expenses. And again, just touching on some of the very brief highlights here. From a revenue perspective, largest line item is the taxation line. So that increase there, consistent with the tax rate increase that came in 2024. Relatively consistent from user charges, government grant perspective. We do see the investment income line, that's a bit of a decrease versus 2023, and that's really just a result of a lower average cash balance between the 2 fiscal years. And then overall revenue of 10.5 million for the year versus the expenses of 10.4 million gives a slight operating surplus of that 88,000. Within the full set of financial statements, there is a note 13, and that breaks down those expenses by segment. So you can see the amounts by salaries, by materials, as opposed to just the departments, which is shown here on the face of the statement of operations. But overall, nothing overly significant or unusual to point out in any of those expense line items. After we see that operating surplus of the 88,000 there, that's where we see the other lines. So those are some new lines we brought in this year, really just to differentiate that they're not a reoccurring expected operating line. So we do have that one-time contribution from developers, that amount that I spoke to on statement of financial position, that was brought in to be recognized as revenue. So that's not something, we expect to reoccur every year. So we've separated it out, as well as a slight loss on the disposal of capital assets. So assets that were disposed of that still had a net book value that had to get written off there. So those add to that operating surplus to give you a total annual surplus of the year of the 428,000. That amount then gets added to your opening municipal equity to give you your ending municipal equity, which is where your reserves are as well. So again, if you have the full set of financial statements, that accumulated municipal equity is broken down and includes the Schedule 1, which breaks down those reserve balances line by line. And then after the financial statement highlights, we get into kind of the required housekeeping items in terms of the audit requirements. So page 13 will speak to any of the new accounting policies and practices. So I already mentioned we did have the 3 new standards that were adopted in. Again, they were mandatory, so not optional to the township, brought in by all municipalities in fiscal 2024, and then nothing else that was revised or brought in optionally. Page 14 is kind of a laundry list. Oh, sorry, before I get to page 14, sorry, I got lost on my numbers there. This just speaks to the new standards. So you can see in the middle box there, the next new standard doesn't come in until year ends after April 1, 2026, which will be your 2027 year. So you have both 2025 and 2026 with no standards coming in. As we get closer to 2027, and actually I think the treasurer will see in winter of 2026, we'll have our first webinar coming out of what this new standard will be and to start considering impacts, but we'll continue to support the township and the treasurer over the next few years as we approach this next new standard for 2027. And then page 15 here, this is the laundry list of those remaining required communications from an audit perspective. I won't go through them, but takeaway for the committee and council certainly is the right-hand side, no matters to report on any of these items, which is nice to see. From an audit misstatement perspective, which is the next page, page 16, as a reminder, so we did have that materiality set at 200,000. So that's the aggregate level at which we would no longer be able to issue our clean opinion. But to the extent we had noted differences above that $10,000 posting threshold, we did accumulate them. We did have 2 really quite minor in nature timing differences between fiscal years. So those will all reverse out in 2025, and then we'll be moving forward with a clean slate after 2025 there. So certainly nothing material or significant to note or bring to your attention from an audit misstatement perspective. And then the next page around control deficiencies. So this is certainly, I would say, the highlight of the audit. As a reminder, we had issued a significant deficiency for the last few fiscal years. There was nothing in itself in isolation that rose to a significant deficiency, but just the combination of a number of control deficiencies that when you look at them together, it gave rise to that significant deficiency in financial reporting. So again, we planned the audit with that significant deficiency in mind and completed the audit testing with the increased substantive work to ensure that we were able to have our clean opinion with those deficiencies noted in the previous year. However, we did all the additional testing and the additional work because of it for fiscal 2024, and everything came out pretty clean and very substantial improvement in the control environment from what we had seen in previous fiscal years. I know I've said it, but I'm going to just reiterate it again, a very heavy lift from the finance team over the last 12 months to be able to make such a significant improvement. So I do just want to take, a second to say a big thank you and a big kudos to the team. I know it was a lot to get through, especially getting through 2 audits in the last 4 months or so, but a big thank you to the team. And then noting that there will be a little bit of some turnover in the finance group moving into 2025. We'll certainly keep an eye on it and make sure we continue to trend in the right direction. But as of today's date, certainly want to give kudos to the team for the improvement that we've seen. And then from there, the last item, just a quick note on independence. So to the extent we completed any non-audit services, we would note them and have a quick conversation over any potential or perceived conflicts. Happy to note there are none for our end, so nothing to declare here. And then after that, into the appendices, which I won't go through in detail. Happy to take any questions, though, on the appendices themselves or anything from the report or the audit itself.
Thank you, Katie. I'm looking around the room. Question from Councillor Roberts.
Thank you for that, Katie. It's a lot of encouragement and good news that we'd like to see. I just, one of my benchmark items is the arrears, and I noticed that it's got up substantially in dollar value. The percentages, I think the average that we're aiming for was 10%. We're up around over the 20s. In your statements, you were expecting that to come down in 2025. What's going to be different in 2025 to improve that? Do you know?
Yeah, I've had some conversations with the treasurer. I think I can see both the existing and the new treasurer. So I'll see maybe Rhonda, if you wanted to add some commentary there.
Thank you. So yeah, the difference and what's improved from 24 to or even 23, 24 to 25 is our collection efforts. So we're making more strides that way. We just recently passed a tax billing and collection policy. If you recall, that was just a few meetings ago. And in the past, there hasn't been a lot of attention paid to those properties that are eligible for tax registration. And we have now proceeded with that. And I think we have 28 or 29 properties that are presently tax registered that will be sold for non-payment if they don't make payment arrangements within the coming year.
Question, comment from the Reeve?
Yeah, the other side. Didn't stay on. The tax collected under the budget, forecasted budget, and the actuals were like 130,000 more actuals. So would that be, as Rhonda just said, some of the back taxes collected
last year in '24 that made that difference? You'd think,
I can take that one too, Katie.
Sure. Mhm.
So during the year, you budget for the assessment that you're provided at the end of the previous year. But throughout the year, you have new builds or new construction, and that gets added in during the year. So we have what's called supplementary taxes, and that makes up the difference that you're referring to.
that would be basically back taxes, because it takes a couple of years to get added to the assessment, so.
Sometimes it does, yes.
Okay, anybody else? It was a pretty good presentation. I like the way it flowed, so it answered most of my questions. I am not seeing any more questions or comments, Katie, so early night for you.
Well, I appreciate it. And again, my sincere thanks for accommodating the virtual presentation. Luckily, everything worked. Sometimes that's not always the case, so I appreciate that.
Oh, we have one more comment from Councillor Roberts.
Thank you. So in the management letter, Katie, on the last item, and I think it was in Appendix C, there's a recommendation for us to implement some type of controls for if we were changing our operating systems. Is that something that is underway, or is that something that is just a recommendation that we'll have to develop ourselves?
So why don't I start with this one, Rhonda? I think you're referring to the note around the chart of accounts. Is that correct?
In Appendix C of the management letter, it says, in consultation with third-party experts to ensure internal controls and best practices are followed, this will support the audit process and ensure seamless transfer of data. And it says in 2024, there was no change noted. And I interpreted that as that we haven't done that yet. Is that something that we still have to do?
That is something that we are hoping will be completed in the next few months so that we have it updated for the 2024 audit. Maybe I'll look over to Rhonda to see if you want to add any more commentary to that. I think it is the comment around the chart of accounts.
Right, and he's correct that, sorry, you're correct that we have not undertaken that work yet. It is one of the things that Christian will be doing in the coming year.
Okay, so thank you very much again for your presentation, Katie. And I have a suggested motion that council approve the 2024 audited financial statements as presented. It's moved by Councillor Vraken, seconded by Councillor Kelso. All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you, everybody.
You know what? I forgot half that motion, folks. The rest of it is that the motion be forwarded to council meeting tonight. Is everybody except for me happy with that? Okay. 6-1. Thank you. All right, on to communications. We have a long list of communications. Does anybody want to pull any for discussion? Councillor Kelso?
7.8 and 7.13.
Okay, 7.8.
So that's a notation about the upcoming changes at the Conservation Authority. So the province now is going to be creating a new agency and wanting to meld 36 conservation authorities down to, I think, 7. So we will be discussing this at the next meeting at the MVCA to have a response back to the province. They're talking about a 1-year transition period, but just at first read of it and so Sally McIntyre, the general manager, has been in consultation and listened to reports, and this is not a good news as far as the Mississippi Valley Conservation Authority is viewing this. So there's going to be a lot more to come about this. It's just wanted people to be aware that there's going to be a major change in the organization. And the 7.13, Ministry of Emergency Preparedness and Response. And I'm just trying to find the notes I made. And I don't appear to have them with me, so I'm trying to think. I don't have my laptop, so I don't have the, can I just see the? Sorry. It has to do with the, I don't know, I see the chief sitting over there. Did you have a chance to look at that? Is there any comment that you have? No comment from me. Okay. Well, you know what? I have it circled, and unfortunately, I don't have the notes with me, so I guess I will just leave it at that. I can't remember why I wanted that pulled. So, sorry.
Okey dokey. We have a suggested motion that we have more to want to pull. Which one, Ron?
Yeah, 7-Eleven.
7-Eleven,
Yeah.
Enbridge Gas.
Enbridge,
request for support.
the request for support is it's reference to the REIV, but it's asking for the county of Lanark, and then it references Lanark Highlands. So I'm not sure if they want Lanark Highlands or they want Lanark County to be the one that's giving the support. But I think us as Lanark Town, or Lanark Highlands should be sending a letter of support if we do support the project.
I can add to that.
Yeah.
It's both. I think they sent a letter along with that. I think, Nicole, you've got a copy of that, and we just have to sign it, basically. And like you say, I don't know why it was, the two of them were sent to me. The first go around, we didn't deal with it, and then they sent this one, but it says the County of Lanark. But I think it's, the more support they get, because there is another organization they have to jump through hoops for to get pipeline in the ground. I know a year or so ago, I listened to a report that was put forward, and they were having a fight to get a new line put into Ottawa because the existing line was getting to the point they would have to reduce pressure and we would have to cut off customers. So they finally got the approval to enlarge the line and replace it before we get into difficulties. That's just the kind of hoops with this other organization that's covers more environmental side of it that they have to look out for.
Okay, Councillor Close, did you have a motion you wanted to move to that effect?
I absolutely will make a motion that we send them a letter of support for the project.
And that's seconded by Councillor Verrechan. Any further discussion on that one? All in favor? And that's carried. So we'll leave it to staff to work out something that makes Ron happy. All right, thank you. We have a suggested motion that's being moved by Councillor Summers, that the communications dated November 25th, 2025 be received as information, and this is seconded by Councillor Close. All in favor? And that's carried. Reports. We have a third quarter Q3 quarterly report from Suzanne.
Thank you, Chair. So the report is a consolidation of all of the input from our various departments, with the exception of the building department that we currently have a staffing vacancy in. But it summarizes the activities for July, August, and September. It's a fairly lengthy report, and I'm very thankful to all the management team members that provided their input into it. And other than that, I welcome any questions that council may have on this report.
Questions, comments, applause? Okay, everybody's happy. Do we have a motion for that guy? I think we do. So suggested motion that council receives the Q3 2025 departmental updates report as information. Moved by Marina, seconded by Jeannie, all in favor, and that's carried. Council meeting calendar, Nicole.
I think it's pretty self-explanatory. The proposed draft calendar is attached. If you have any questions, comments, changes, happy to hear those.
Reeve,
You haven't added that budget meeting to it yet.
No, sorry.
all right, so we're adopting this plus one more meeting and maybe more meetings. I have a suggested motion that the 2026 Council/Committee of the Whole meeting calendar be approved. Moved by Ron, seconded by the Reeve. All in favor? And that's carried. Draft bylaw enforcement policy, Nicole.
So if you recall, I believe it was either early September or late August, I shared with you a report on an approach that staff have contemplated for our enforcement and bylaw services. Over the years, we've added and grown and layering in several pieces or several bylaws, and have now contracted services with Frontenac bylaw. And in my tenure, brief tenure of just over a year, there are some inconsistencies, I would say, and some unclear expectations, as well as some unclear expectations in the community about bylaw and bylaw enforcement. And part of that staff felt could be better managed underneath a more comprehensive policy, which speaks directly to how and why and when the township will enforce its bylaws. So part of the work I undertook this summer and early fall was a community survey. Pleased to share we had very good turnout and response rate. So 194 people responded. One of the most important elements for me coming out of that was a confirmation of really strong support for a balanced education first enforcement model. And so we would want to ideally be working with our residents as opposed to being overly punitive. So in thinking of that, I took a look at several other municipalities' policies across the province. Also pleased to share that I am being mentored by the municipality of Bayham, and so had a really good deep dive with them and their CAO on their particular policy. Also really taken with the City of Kingston's policy, which has a very clear statement about the discretion of the township to undertake and enforce its bylaws. So I think those have been conveyed in the draft policy that's before you. It's only here for information. I would like to share this back with the community, and legal counsel does need to review and make recommendations on this policy prior to bringing it back to Committee of the Whole for ultimate council approval. So happy to answer any questions on that.
Reeve McLaren.
Yeah, just looking at the listing here for the number of years you've lived here, and the longest you got is over 15 years. You need one a lot longer than that for Vernon and myself. Right?
Jeannie, did you have your hand up? No. I thought I saw a hand. Councillor Roberts.
Thank you for that report, Nicole. I just was wondering if there was any combination of amendment that you would have with our complaints policy to maybe to enhance some of the options to capture concerns from our ratepayers that would be normally looking at a bylaw enforcement, if that also is cross-referenced to our complaints policy.
That is a really good question, Councillor Roberts. One of the things that we intend with this policy is to have another form specifically for bylaw-related complaints. As you could see in the results from the survey, there are many people who feel that their complaints were not addressed. And I think there needs to be, with animal control, the option is to move directly to our enforcement agents. But they may or may not get service. And so I think there needs to be another form where people can register their bylaw-related complaints. Our complaint policy is something completely separate from that. So that is the intention, and we will have a place on the new website, a fillable form that will then be directed to staff to manage and pass along to bylaw where necessary. I will point out too, in the survey results, quite interestingly, got some clear direction on which bylaws the community wants us to tackle, those being clean and safe properties, noise, and animal control. So those will be coming to you next.
Okay. Any further comment? So we have a suggested motion that the draft bylaw enforcement policy be received for information, and that staff be directed to post the draft policy for a 2-week public consultation period and report back to council with any comments received and a final version for consideration. You want to move that, Jeannie? That's moved by Jeannie, seconded by the Reeve. My only comment before we vote on that is I wonder if we should do longer than a 2-week consultation. If we bring it back to council in 2 weeks, that's really like a 7 or 8 day consultation.
Just to clarify, sorry.
And people need to take a look at it for themselves and see where they fit in.
Thank you for that, Deputy Reeve King. I agree and am happy to extend that timeline a little longer so that people do have time, recognizing that we are about to head into a Christmas holiday. So.
Marina?
But what I do intend to do is post it on the website. We'll share a link through our social media channel and make a copy of it available here as well for people who don't have those other channels.
So if we're making a friendly amendment to that motion, would we say 4 weeks or? Draft policy for a public consultation and report back in the new year with any comments? Somebody write that down. Okay. So post a policy for a 2-week consultation period, report back to council in the new year, or just drop the 2-week for a public consultation period and report back to council in the new year with any comments received, a final version for consideration. That's moved by Jeannie, seconded by the Reeve. Final comment?
It's not bylaw, but our speed enforcement policy probably could be revamped a little bit, because I had one this summer, neighbors over in Rosetta Road were talking about just 1 or 2 people speeding past their house. The camera was set up near the 5th line corner. So the only ones that would potentially be speeding is ones that were on Rosetta Road coming one way or the other. I would say 75% of the traffic is probably turning at the 7th line, so they're not going to be speeding. Another neighbor was drawing hay past there. I think the lowest speed was like 13 kilometers an hour. So you're not going to get an 85 percentile over the speed limit because of that. So it's doesn't work in certain locations, is what I'm trying to get at.
Okay. So do you have a comment?
Yeah, well, just as being of the traffic advisory working group, our speed enforcement policy for the Highlands is the same as what the county's is. So we follow the county's speed enforcement here.
Okay, so we have a motion moved and seconded. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. And now we'll talk about the OPP Detachment Board budget.
If you have seen this report elsewhere, it's because we are very grateful to CAO Dan Smithson from Carleton Place, who drafted this report and kindly shared it with all municipalities in an effort to make things easier for clerks around the county, and is pretty straightforward housekeeping recommendation. And I would seek any other additional comments from Councillor Close, if he has any?
I just say it has unanimous support of the board, so.
So we have a suggested motion. Township of Lanark Highlands approves the draft 2026 Lanark County OPP Detachment Board budget, and the council approves the establishment of a surplus reserve fund for Lanark County OPP Detachment Board, where the 2025 surplus will be placed at the end of the year, and that council approves the inclusion of the Lanark County OPP Detachment Board for 2026 and in future years in the county levy, with the detachment board budget managed as a separate fund in the county financial system. Moved by Jeannie, seconded by Allison. All in favor? And that's carried. Good. We are on to council and committee appointment updates. Back to Councillor Close for an update, if there is one, on the OPP Detachment Board.
Yeah, we had our meeting last week. I think the minutes have went out, so councilors should have got the attached minutes. It was actually a productive meeting, but it was very short. It was only an hour long, so that's about all I have to report.
Thank you. Comments? Questions? Joint Planning Committee, is that meeting, Reeve? The library, which is me, we had a board meeting last week, and nothing urgent or major to report. We've completed sort of our end of the budget, our being the library end of the budget, and submitted that into Rhonda and team. And things continue to go very well with the library in terms of numbers and the events that they put on. They had a robotics day, which was a smashing success, and where they hosted a bunch of other libraries. So all is well there. Questions? Yep, Reeve?
I remember when they first started that STEM program, they were working in the council chambers here, and there was half a dozen kids and the guy that was dealing with it, and the door was open. I took a look in, I stood there for 5 minutes. Those kids were so engaged, they didn't even know I was standing there looking at them. That's just how this thing has really, really turned a leaf with some kids, probably.
Thank you. Councillor Vraken, Lanark Highlands Youth Center.
Thank you, Chair. So we've been working on updating the policies of the youth center. I believe we're going to be looking for a new board member as well, so keep your eye out for that if anybody's interested. And we'll be meeting with the township, Suzanne. We were supposed to meet this afternoon. I couldn't make the meeting, so we'll reschedule, or did you guys meet?
December 18th between the treasurer and their executive director.
I just want to mention that the youth center is having a big fundraiser with candy and sweets and treats and salty things and all kinds of really cool things. So I put in my bid for that. Back to Councillor Close on the Lanark and District Museum Board. Middleville Museum Board, Allison.
Thank you. So I had both the youth center and museum board same night, same time. So I caught the back end of the museum meeting. So the biggest thing, they were preparing for their Victorian Christmas, which was this past weekend. And there was discussions from the newspaper article from the previous meeting about the part-time position. So I'm going to pull that from the minutes this evening to discuss. I think I'm not sure exactly what was discussed, and I apologize, I missed the meeting, but I'm going to pull it from the minutes.
Okay. Where are we at? Back to the Mississippi Valley Conservation Authority. Any more on that, Jeannie?
Just that we're going to have a finance meeting this Thursday coming, and we're going to be doing the ribbon cutting ceremony at the dam. There's a photo op. Thank the province for their share of the funds.
Councillor Roberts, any updates from the Arnprior Public Library Board?
Just some questions on the terms of reference and the voting capacity of the member. I didn't get a chance to speak to him directly with it, but I did ask for the terms of reference previously. I'd like to have a copy of that if that could get sent to me. And then one of the things that Gary was complaining about when he was frustrated was with the ability to vote at these things. So that's why I wanted to reference the terms of reference to see if that is a voting position or not. So if that could be something that you may put on your list for us.
Through you, Chair. My understanding, without good clarity on the terms of references specifically, is that it is a non-voting representative position. But we will confirm. Happy to reach out to the librarian and go through our files.
Maybe we could renegotiate that. Recreation Advisory Committee, Councillor Summers.
We haven't met since our last meeting and my last update, but I do know that Chelsea has spearheaded a working group for the Frosty Fling, and they had their first meeting, and things are underway there for planning.
Excellent. Municipal Grants Committee, Councillor Kelso.
So we had our meeting, and we have made our suggestions, and Chelsea will be bringing a report to council.
You're like those auditing firms that have the secret, the secret answer. Is there a bird caught in this room?
It's the alarm. It'll stop.
The alarm going off. Oh well. Lanark Highlands Waste Committee.
We have a
Councillor
meeting
Kelso.
scheduled for December the 10th.
And the County Idea Committee. We have a suggested motion that the council committee appointment updates verbal be received as information. Moved by Jeannie, seconded by Ron. All in favor? And that's carried. Back to Suzanne for the CAO update.
Thank you, Chair. Under our topic of staffing, so we have our future treasurer who will take over from Rhonda following her retirement in December. Christian, he started on the 20th. He was here with us tonight for the audit presentation, sitting beside Rhonda. So we're all pleased to welcome Christian Illman to our team, and he's been busy getting up to speed and working with Rhonda on the transition. We had CBO interviews between November 12th and 18th, and we are currently just finalizing reference checks and in preparation for extending an offer to our selected candidate. The township is also hiring for a planner position, and that job ad is up on the township's website, on the AMCTO website, and on the Ontario Professional Planner Institute job boards, and that posting closes on December the 8th. Any questions on staffing, Council?
Sorry. On the CBO, is that the offer to Kyle, or is this a new person? Kyle's the interim right now?
Through you, Chair. So Kyle had kind of given us a bit of time to hold over between his the final full-time day and when we were able to put another plan in place. Due to his kind of limited availability in his new role, we have agreements set up with Rick Patterson and Pete Eklund, who are the building inspector and CBO respectively for Drummond North Helmsley. And they are helping us out in their hours above and beyond outside their regular daytime hours, and are currently by bylaw our inspector and deputy CBO.
Marina?
Through you, Chair. Suzanne, has the patroller position and the full complement of staff for equipment operators for Public Works been finalized?
Through you, Chair, my understanding is that they are still completing the patroller recruitment piece. So they've done all the interviews, and I think they were at the selection level, but I do not believe that that has been finalized at this time. But my understanding is it was very close. On the budget process, just wanted to give a bit of an update. So just for background, being consistent with the approach that other municipalities that have recently been given these strong mayor powers to, our REIV has formally delegated his authority to propose the budget by February 1st to the administration. And that was done through a written delegation. And that's specifically, obviously, to the CAO and treasurer. But staff have been working on a budget and preparing that since mid-August. And we currently do have a balanced draft. And we are still waiting on confirmation of a few key budget components, such as the OPP costing. But given the transition of our manager of finance and treasurer position, it was in the township's best interest to adjust our process slightly and the timeline so that the incoming treasurer could lead the process. And so there's been some changes from our kind of initial process to what we are in currently. And at this point in time, we have just confirmed that the full-day budget workshop will be held with staff and council on Thursday, January 29th. And that session will occur here in council chambers and will be open to the public. Any questions on budget process?
Allison?
Thank you, Chair. So first question is, will Rhonda be coming back to walk through that one, or will it be with Christian?
Through you, Chair. At this point, the plan is that will be Christian, supported by the management team, doing the workshop. There is sufficient time in between where they've been able to transition and walk through the budget process that Rhonda had done in order to do the handoff to Christian. She is obviously available still to us and has made that offer. If we have questions or if we have anything we need her for, we can reach out.
Chair, just to follow up, so I just want to make it publicly known I'm not available. I already have my 2025 audit scheduled for that day in the municipality that I work in, so I will not be in attendance.
And the last item was our strategic planning update. So we did have our second workshop last night with council and staff. That was facilitated by Eric Lockhart, our strategic planning consultant. And so from that, we were given some of the next steps in the process. So from here, there's some heavy lifting, if you will, work to be done internally as Eric, myself, Nicole, and our management team look at what the proposed implementation would be to support the priorities that have been identified so far. And what we're looking towards is a draft report coming to the Committee of the Whole. We're targeting January 13th at this point in time. Obviously, these are still tentative, but this is what our targets are. And with that, we would then have the report be available. It's obviously going to be a public document within that draft Committee of the Whole, within the Committee of the Whole agenda. And so public have the opportunity to review that draft and provide any feedback. And we'll leave that window open. So January 15th to the end of the next agenda cycle. So that's about approximately January 30th. And then we would bring that forward as a final report. February 10th is what we would be targeting. And then following that, it would again come back to staff to prepare the communications and launch for the strategic plan. And that is the end of my update, unless there are other questions.
Very good. All right, I have a suggested motion that the CAO update be received as information. Moved by Marina, seconded by the Reeve. All in favor? And that's carried. I have a final suggested motion that the Committee of the Whole meeting adjourn at 7:10 p.m. Moved by Jeannie, seconded by Marina. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you.
So we're all set to go all over again. I don't see anybody has run away and left us, so we're all still here. I'll call the meeting to order, and if everybody would please rise for the Pledge of Canada. Disclosure of pecuniary interest can be now or at that point in the meeting. Not seeing any at the current moment. Approval of the agenda moved by Marina, seconded by Jeannie, that the agenda be adopted as presented. All in favor? It's carried. Council minutes, Steve moves, seconded by,
I'm sorry. There needs to be an amendment, but we can get there when we get to bylaw number 2025-1999. So at 11:1, I will interject again.
so the motion is that council we go back to the agenda, adopted as amended. Moved by Marina, seconded.
I'm going to, now I will share why we're amending the bylaw. We need to change the date of Christian Illman's start date from 1 January 2026 to 18 December 2025 to ensure that the Treasury and the Treasurer are in place.
Everybody got that? Voted on it as amended? So we'll move on to the minutes, moved by Steve, seconded by Jeannie, that the council meeting minutes of October 28th, 2025 be approved as presented. All in favor? It's carried. No delegations or communications. Report, committee of the whole. I don't know why it says a motion by Allison.
This is the 18th report of the Committee of the Whole from the meeting of October 28th, 2025, to the members of the Highlands Township Council, Lanark Highlands Township Council. We, the members, the Committee of the Whole, beg leave to report Section A is information, Section B as follows. B3, part-time staffing request, that consideration of this item be deferred to a future meeting to allow further review. B4, the council approves the draft Drummond North Elmsley Tay Valley Fire Protection Agreement as presented, and that the Reeve and CAO be authorized to sign all applicable documents upon bylaw passing with Drummond North Elmsley and Tay Valley Townships. And finally, B8, that staff proceed as directed in closed section regarding a financial matter. All of which is respectfully submitted by myself, Deputy Reeve Bill King.
Marina, you want to pull one out? Or Allison?
sorry, I'd like to pull B3.
Okay. No other ones? Oh, go ahead then.
Thank you, Chair. So again, I apologize to council, I wasn't at the meeting. So with the part-time staffing request, I realize it says deferred to a future meeting. So I think there was potentially some misunderstanding from, I know, the Middleville Museum and what we had requested from the township for this item. So I'm asking that we have a date that it's coming back, because honestly, we're waiting because we want to put something out, and the museum themselves are trying to figure out whether they have to hire or figure out how to do the payroll themselves, as far as the remittances and the pay itself. So could this come back in like early January? Because again, it's closed for the season, but May will come quickly.
Through the chair, we could bring it back for the December 9th meeting.
That would. Thank you.
Marina?
Sorry, through you, Chair. I'm happy to make the motion after that because Allison wasn't at the meeting, if that's helpful.
Yeah, so we need to have a motion to, of course, it's deferred, but it's already deferred, so it's just a matter of bringing it back, just a staff recommendation. It should, Bill, yeah. And you'll have a seconder. So, no other discussion, a mover and a seconder for the committee of the whole report, Bill?
Moi, Ronald.
And all in favor? It's carried. So that gets down to motions. Moved by Allison, seconded by Jeannie, that the council approve the 2024 audited financial statements as presented. Any discussion? See none, all in favor? It's carried. And this bylaw one, Allison?
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, I just wanted to note, I apologize because Rhonda left. I just wanted to thank her and the team for everything that they've done. There's been a tremendous amount of work done, and I apologize I didn't do it when she was here. I didn't realize they were scooting out. But I just think it should be acknowledged that it was a tremendous amount of work, and we're very appreciative of everything she's done, and the whole team.
She'll be back for future meetings, or is Christian going to be taking that over the next? Back in December.
Through chair, yes. Rhonda will be back. She has a number of reports that are coming on the agenda on December 9th. That's her final hurrah, yeah. And we have a staff meeting tomorrow morning where I'll be able to relay that message to the team, so thank you.
This button is very sensitive on it. Yeah, and Rhonda will probably volunteer or voluntold that she'll be back to help Christian for any little thing in the future. So the treasurer appointment is going to be delayed under bylaws?
No, we would like to make that appointment tonight. What will change is the date from 1 January 2026 to 18 December 2025. It is on the bylaw itself.
Yeah, but it's not on the motion here.
Correct. You will need to make a friendly amendment.
Yeah, so I won't be signing that one tonight.
I have prepared it.
Oh, okay.
So it is ready to go with the correct date.
This keeps turning off. So a bylaw to appoint a treasurer, moved by Ron, seconded by Jeannie. The bylaw number 2025-1999 being a bylaw to appoint a treasurer, be read a first, second, third time short passed and signed by the Reeve clerk. All in favor? It's carried. County updates. Today was the inaugural meeting, hence the suit, and I've been busy in Perth ever since. Richard Kidd is the new warden for next year. And of course, the current warden or past warden is corporate services, which is Tony Randall from Carlton Place. Steve Fournier is Public Works Committee Chair. Ricky Manelli is staying on as Community Services, and Jeff Carroll from Montague is the Economic Development Chair. Other than that, anything off the top of your head that's not in the media release?
27-minute
Yeah.
meet again tomorrow for our regularly scheduled meeting.
Yeah, there was nothing in public work, so it's, oh, I better not say that. It should be a shorter meeting, but you say that and it won't be. It guaranteed. So I have a motion by Bill, seconded by Jeannie, that the Lanark County updates be received as information. All in favor? It's carried. Notice of meetings, December 9th, both committee and council, and then that's the last one for the year. The next one is January 13th. Questions and comments from the public? No? Good. So now we move to in-camera session, moved by Ron, seconded by Jeannie, that council move in camera. We've got 7, that says 28, but okay, 7:29, sounds good to me, because that's slow. On a matter as permitted under section 239(2) of the Municipal Act, specifically E, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality, and that Suzanne, Forbes, and Nicole remain in the room. All in favor? It's carried.